I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and you all asked for me to talk about parenting kiddos with ADHD. And I also wanted to include tips for people that have kiddos with autism as well. And then we're also going to talk about parenting with ADHD because that adds a whole different dynamic and perspective. And my goal is for us to realize if our child is doing the best they can and do they need additional supports. Because often when families are referred to my office for a psychological evaluation, for therapy, they are often like therapy is often the last. Like they're like, we've tried everything else. Now we'll finally try therapy. And that's why I want to talk about this because with ADHD, autism, being able to know the signs as a parent that I think my child might need some extra supports, and then making sure that those supports are in place. So it's really common for kids with ADHD to struggle with managing their emotions, with managing their behavior, and with managing their impulses or being able to focus and concentrate on task. We talk about ADHD as being an attention problem, and that's where when I'm assessing some kids, parents will always say they have no trouble paying attention to video games or paying attention to their Legos, but I can't get them to sit down and tie their shoe. And so with ADHD, it's really difficulty. It's this search for dopamine. So, and that's why the medications that treat ADHD often focus on those dopamine receptors, on increasing the brain's access to dopamine. Stimulants are a common option, and then sometimes there are non-stimulants, which are the MAOIs. And that's just a whole lot of words to say that it's working on similar receptors that just kind of help the brain focus, but they work a little different. And I always encourage people to talk with their medical doctor about options. And often being able to meet your child where they are and not compare them to their other peers, to their other kiddos. So, to other kids their age. I will tell you all, my child was a little bit later to potty training. Not significantly late where we needed to talk with the medical doctor or anything like that. But my kiddo, when he is doing something he loved, he would not stop to go to the bathroom. So he didn't have good, I wanna say it's called proprioception, being able to feel your body, feelings in your body. I wanna say it's proprioception. Yes. So proprioception is the body's ability to sense and position its own movements, and then also just kind of feeling what's happening inside of your body. And so when he was doing what he loved, he would not stop to go to the bathroom. And so he would have accidents. But when he was at daycare, he wasn't having accidents because they had it built into their day that the kids just went to the bathroom every 2 hours. And the daycare teacher had to tell me, because I went to the daycare teacher like, "Hey, he's not having accidents here. What's going on?" Because I would ask him, "Do you need to go to the bathroom?" And he'd be like, "No," because he's playing, he's having fun. And so at daycare, they would say, "It's time to go to the bathroom." They wouldn't give them a choice. And I like body autonomy, like, I like for people to have an understanding of what's happening with their body, but my kiddo wasn't old enough to understand and to stop and listen to his body long enough to go to the bathroom. And so, for about a year or 2, every few hours, I would just be like, "Hey, buddy, potty break," and he would just stop, he would go to the bathroom, and then he would come back and he would be able to play. And that was able to stop, accidents. And, Uh, I don't love sharing embarrassing stories about him because I don't want for him to go back and see things here later. So I will say, in general, as a parent, I would sometimes carry an extra pair of clothes in the car because kids get dirty. So sometimes kids need a spare change of clothes because they spill ice cream on their clothes or something. Like it's not always because of an accident. And often kids with ADHD, they often come to me feeling like they're bad, like there's something wrong with them. And we know that kids with ADHD are corrected. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's significantly more than their neurotypical peers because it's stop that, put that down, don't do that, stop that. They receive negative feedback all day. And so something that I do with the parents that I'm working with is I tell them, catch your kid doing well, like catch them doing good, or tell them what you want them to do. So if they're doing, it's like, "Oh, let's pick something different." Like if they're, banging something that they're not supposed to bang. "All right, let's stop. Let's take a breath. What should we be doing right now?" Then like, "Oh yeah, I was supposed to be finishing my homework or I was supposed to be doing whatever." And so taking an approach that doesn't tear down their sense of self. um, Sarah, so I cannot tell you how many times my kiddo in kindergarten and 1st grade, how many times he left his jacket at school. We've lost water bottles, we've lost lunch boxes. Thankfully this year, my kiddo's 7, he's in 2nd grade now. He has kept up with all of his items this year, which has been huge. But in the past, that was a very big thing. And it was never like, ugh, like what's because sometimes parents will say shaming language. They'll say shaming stuff. They'll say, what's wrong with you? And that is shaming language that then becomes that child's internal dialogue and their internal voice. And with ADHD, motivation to do the things that are hard, the things that are boring, the things that are mundane. So my kiddo at the beginning of 1st grade, they were, like, going back over ABCs and all the basics because some of the kids didn't come into 1st grade with those basics. So the teacher was trying to catch everybody up, but he was hating school because he was bored out of his mind. And so often kids with ADHD, when they're bored, they might have behaviors, but the trigger for the behaviors is boredom, and it's not because they're bad or there's something wrong with them. And so yes, kids with autism can also forget things at school as well. And so that's why I kind of wanted to combine this into um, for neurodiverse children, for kiddos whose brains work a little different and that might need different reminders, that might need different reinforcers, just what can help. Now, our rule is that at the beginning of the year, I would buy 2 really cool water bottles that he really liked, and they were his favorites. But then if he lost those, then we're going to the cheapo, like we're getting like we're getting like we're getting some really cheap ones for him to keep up with. But um uh often often ADHD and undiagnosed autism can present as depression before it is treated. And that's why the importance of asking for help. And if your child is doing well at school and they're struggling at home, sometimes what's happening is they're masking at school. All of their energy is going into keeping it together at school. And then as soon as they get home, they kind of fall apart. And if that's happening, I really recommend them doing some type of physical activity or maybe like a mindful, like having some cool down time because they need to find a way to just settle and ground themselves. So as soon as they get home, it's not, all right, let's pull out the homework. You are going to have a meltdown. Or as soon as they get home, okay, now it's time to do the chores that you didn't finish this morning. No. So they're at school for 6 to 8 hours depending on your school. And so remembering that kids are people too, and it's normal to be exhausted after a full school day. And so sometimes they just need a moment. And now, if I have trouble getting them off of their device once so like if they are on and I'm trying to get my phone plugged in because I'm about to lose TikTok if I don't plug this in. So y'all give me a second to plug this in. Hopefully I have a plug close or my phone might die. I'm sorry. I'm over on YouTube if y'all would like to join me over on YouTube. I have the charger, but all the ports are taken. So I don't. Yes. So join me over on YouTube if the phone dies. But with managing difficult tasks after school, sometimes the first thing is just to let them settle. Y'all might even have a nonverbal thing of how their day went, because if as soon as you pick them up or as soon as you see them after school, if it's for a younger child that's maybe 9 and younger, sometimes a nonverbal how was their day? Because sometimes talking about their day can be more triggering, and so sometimes we've done colors. So with some clients, we've done yellow for happy or good, red for angry, blue for sad, green for and now with the inside out characters, I might do orange for anxiety. But being able to point out, how are you doing after school? Because number one, acknowledging an emotion can be really helpful. And I love the idea of them doing like playing outside for 10 or 15 minutes. Because sometimes kids, after after sitting down in class all day and just, and they have recess, they have PE. Our kiddo, he only has PE like twice a week, I think. Sometimes it's twice a week, depending on how many if they're in school all week. But physical activity can be one way to give your brain some dopamine. But I was gonna say sometimes video games might not be a good option because especially with kiddos with autism, and then also sometimes with ADHD, because transitioning off of screens can sometimes be really difficult. So sometimes you can use the screen as a reward, as okay, once you know, come in, you reset, use the cool down space, um, and you do your homework. After you finish your homework, that's when you can start being on there. And so, um, my live is going to end. So, TikTok, I'm just going to say bye. Bye, y'all. I'm trying to do too many things at one time. I will see y'all over on YouTube. Bye. There we go. Okay. That's taken care of. And so transitioning from most preferred to least preferred is going to cause a problem. So let me say that again. Transitions from most preferred to least preferred. So if my child being on the iPad or his video game is his most preferred and his least preferred is doing his homework, it's going to be hard for me to get him from from being on his game to doing his homework. But sometimes, if I instead of going to the game after school, I might have my child like go outside, play with the dog, play with their Legos or something. There might be something else that it's easier to transition to do any school work or anything. And then making sure that if your child has a diagnosis like ADHD, autism, that you have a at least if you're in the United States, that you have a 504 plan in place or an individualized education plan, that you have a specialized plan for your child. Because if the homework from school is causing major meltdowns at home, I've worked with some clients where we've been able to edit their schedule as part of their 504 plan. I'll never forget there was a case where if they demonstrated mastery of a topic, then they could be excused from the homework. And, because, like, homework is meant to help you learn the concept, and kids with autism struggle with stuff that's dumb. Like, it's like, why should I do my homework? I already understand it. Like, I already got it. Like, why do I have to do my homework when I already understand it? It's like, "No, it's meant to help you understand it, but I already understand it." And so, I've had some cases where there were huge battles over getting homework done, but they were getting A's on tests, but they had all of this missing work. And so we were able to talk and work with the school where if they showed mastery, that though that those assignments could be excused. Some people get concerned with, okay, is this going to teach this child that they don't have to do the work in order to, complete a task or something. To me, I don't think homework teaches this major life lesson. Like, if you can pass the test, like, do what you have to do to pass the test, because the same thing works. If the student failed the test and had the missing work, you have to do that missing work to raise that grade, and you possibly get to retake the test. Every school, every class was different if that was an option, but they wouldn't get credit if they didn't show mastery. And so, there's a difference between accommodating, making it so that this can be a fair and level playing field for this child, and enabling negative behavior. And I think sometimes parents get stuck with what is it? What is what? And that's where I want to show y'all the motivation ladder. I know that I've probably shared this before. Um, this is something that has been very helpful in my clinical practice, because with kiddos that I've worked with, sometimes we have to decide, is there difficulty? Is it out of refusal? Is this defiance? Or do they not know how to do it? So I'll make this, let me see, make this bigger. Okay. And so good. All right, that's big. So the bottom step is I won't do. That's more of a defiance. Or is it I can't do it? So is it I don't understand? Is it I want to do it? How do I do it? I'll try to do it. I can do it. I will do it. Yes, I did it. And so, like, there are a lot of different, it's not this black or white, I did it, I didn't do it. Because a lot of times when I'm working with clients that aren't doing their work, often they don't understand, but they have trouble asking for that support. So, sometimes with some clients, we've made a nonverbal. I might have to grab something. Um, with we called it a paper cup. So it was a red paper cup, or like a red plastic cup thing, where a client would have a cup on their desk. And when they didn't understand, they would just flip the cup over. And when the teacher saw the flipped cup, they knew the student was struggling, and the teacher would come over to ask, what do they need help with? And so my son made this in, but he didn't, like, he painted it. I think this was in 2019. So he was like one, and I think this was his very first year in daycare. But this is a cup idea that I use with elementary and middle school students, because do you know how hard it is for me as an adult, if I'm in an educational session and I raise my hand, and to have to just wait for the person to get to me as an adult. Now, I'm an adult with ADHD, so I don't know if that counts, but as an adult, it is hard to wait for things. And I've had lots of clients that their escalations were because they didn't understand and they were like, the teacher, she didn't get to me. Like, I raised my hand and she never like she never came. And I felt because that there's probably one teacher with like 20 to 25 kids. And so the little cup thing, the rule was, because let's say my client was stuck on question number 2, that they would flip their cup, and then they would see if they could do number 3. Like, they would continue to look at the page to see if there was anything else that they did understand, and when the teacher came over, that they could ask for help. And so that's just a nonverbal thing. It is a skill to learn how to advocate for yourself. That is hard. That is something that is difficult, and sometimes we have to teach kids the skills. So I view behaviors with kids, sometimes it's a skills deficit. So the nature of ADHD is it's an executive functioning skills deficit. Like, they struggle with organization. They struggle with doing things. Like, that's the whole nature of the diagnosis. So I might have to have skills to teach my kiddo how to do these things. And then I'm going to pick and choose my battles. So I think my mom is still in the chat, and she didn't know she was raising like a future doctor that lives with ADHD, but she will tell you my room was was rarely clean, especially from middle school on. Like my I love a doom pile. I need so right here in my office, I have one. I did clean it recently, but before I cleaned it, I think I had like 4 or 5 doom piles in in this very office. Like I love so I just brought up, so I have a water, I have a kombucha, and I have another water. And I did hide things under the bed when I was being sneaky. um, I don't recommend physical discipline with kids in general, but especially not with neurotypical kids. It just makes them sneaky. So I would hide things under my bed. When I asked my kiddo to clean his room, and he's like, "All right, I'm done." I was like, "Okay, go ahead and check under your bed." I don't even go and look. I'm like, "So first you go check under your bed." He's like, "Oh," he checks. There's stuff under there, and he cleans it. and and you have to teach kids the difference between straightening up, cleaning, and organizing, and that you can't do all of those things at the same time. I probably have 5 to 6 doom drawers, and, like, I don't just have 1 doom drawer, like, I have multiple. So, it's the place where things go. So, like, in this drawer, I have a mask, I have earrings, I have a light, I have a case for a mic. I do have I have wires galore. I have so many wires. I have I have a snack. I have a pencil sharpener. Oh, it's like a little thing for a phone, I think. I have a remote control. This probably goes to the Alexa downstairs, but I don't think it works anymore. No, it might go to my light. I think, yeah, it does. It goes to my light. There's another children's mask, and I'm in my house, so why do I have mask in this? I have I have a headband, I have tissue. We're doing this. I have a USB drive. This is another remote to something else. What does this go to? This might go to the camera. This goes to some camera. I don't even know what this goes to. I have a doctorate in clinical psychology, okay? And this is my home office. This isn't even at work. I still have those kid masks. So this is a blank. So this is like an airline tag because I bought a pack of 4. Uh-oh, no. Why did it do that? I wanted to show you my shirt. I don't know why it did that. It followed the yellow thing, that's why. It focused on the yellow thing, and then it followed it down. I have a label for a bag, gotta have lip gloss and chapstick, gotta have a pen, Virginia Tech pen, nonetheless, hair tie, and that's only like 10% of that drawer, okay? That's just the things that I would let you see, okay? So it's like, let a kid have a doom drawer. Like, why are you trying to think everything has to have its own place? No, in my brain, it works. And so I have a purse within my purse because I want to make sure that I always have my keys and my license. So I carry a purse within a purse. Like, this is where we come to feel seen, okay? This video could have 5 views, I don't care if it can help 1 person. So, like, stop trying to have your kids, like, have a perfect room. It's like, no, like, it's gonna last for a day. You have an air tagged wallet. I love it. Ah, ooh, dining room table has a doom space. I love it. I just put because I got my kiddo his advent calendar for Christmas, and so I've saved it there. Like like just let have a doom drawer. Like that works. And so my husband avoids my my husband is neurotypical. Like, always. Why do like He's he's so smart. But, like, he all of his stuff has a perfect place. His drawers are so clean. Like, I don't know. Like, we're all different. Looking for resources for autism and OCD. I normally Google. I know with OCD there is response prevention. There's a special type of therapy that can be really helpful, and there is a new app. Let me look for it. It's an app for OCD. Another therapist talked about. It's called NOCD, so almost like no CD, but NOCD. And it's my understanding that there are therapeutic resources. I think it might be like an online therapy and between session platform. A therapist that I follow talked about using it and it being helpful for her. But yeah, out of sight, out of mind. Like that means it's done, right? If I can't see it, it's done. So sometimes I will leave things out because it's a reminder. So I keep my keys by the back door. And my car, if I touch my car and it doesn't unlock, then I know, whoops, I forgot my keys. But if I touch my car and it unlocks, I know that I have my keys. Like that's how I know if I have my keys or not. I can't tell y'all how many times I've locked myself out of the office, and I'm glad my office has keypads, and so I don't have to carry around keys for my office. It is super, super helpful. Um, like and so I keep things I need to remember, I keep it out in sight so that I do it. You have to develop a system that works for your brain. So I feed my kiddo his multivitamin every morning. So I put my multivitamin by his, and we take them together. And this is the first time I've been also, I take gummy multivitamins because I'm a small child. I don't like swallowing pills. Like, I don't like if it's I my allergy medicine is a pill and I do that, but I hate swallowing vitamins. If I have to swallow a vitamin, I'm probably not gonna take it. So I have gummy vitamins. But they're in the pantry. Like, they're not in the medicine cabinet because I would never go to the medicine cabinet. And my allergy medicine is by my toothbrush because every morning I brush my teeth and I should also take my allergy medicine. I did not take it this morning. I don't think I've taken it in a few days, but like that's the goal. The goal is allergy meds beside the toothbrush, brush your teeth, take your allergy meds, and it'll work. So sometimes having things out can be that reminder to do the things. So make it work for you. I follow Domestic Blisters on TikTok, and she talked about that in her home, her laundry room is on the first floor. So what she does is in her house, they keep the clothes on the first, like clothes don't go upstairs. Like they have downstairs, they keep clothes on the first floor. I'll have to show her page. She also wrote a book. Um, Her Instagram is Struggle Care. She just released a new book, because it's Casey Davis. Casey Davis. I went on her podcast. I think her book might have been called Struggle Care. I could be wrong, but the goal was talking about her book is How to Keep House While Drowning. And if you are struggling with keeping the house, like, kept, making sure to, check out her resources. I think my mom and I covered her TED Talk, Casey Davis TED Talk. I will share what it looks like. Let me see where I am. Okay. I'm gonna mute and then I'm gonna share. So Casey Davis, she has, it does have a trigger warning for um, thoughts of SI, because she was working with people that were postpartum with, and uh, because the person couldn't keep their house clean, they were struggling significantly emotionally. And so it's her TED Talk is how to do laundry when you're depressed. And one of her biggest tips on here is that your laundry is never done. Not quite. I think they, like, wear the clothes upstairs and then they, like, change downstairs. I think that's the goal. But with laundry, laundry is never, like, done. Like, even on laundry day, you wash it, maybe some of it goes where it's supposed to go, and then people are gonna have on dirty clothes that day, and they're gonna be clothes that end up back in the laundry container. And so, she just talked about taking the moral, because sometimes people, like, just because somebody has a clean house doesn't mean they're a better mom or that they're a better person. Now, if my house is so cluttered and dirty that it's unsafe for my child, that's a whole nother conversation versus if I just have, like, a few doom piles in 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 my office. That's a whole other conversation. Yes, laundry and dishes, they are never ending. Exactly. And I'm about my peace, and what I mean by that is, I've worked with clients that cannot go to bed if there is one dish in the sink. And for me, because my peace is way more important than whatever that one dish is. So there's many a times that there are the night's dishes sitting by the sink, but I'm tired. I'm so tired. There's some nights that I wash it before I go to bed. There's some nights that I'm like, I'm done. And I go to bed and I do them in the morning. And so, being able to do what works best for you and to feel good about yourself either way, that I'm not a better mom if all the dishes are clean that night. And so with ADHD, often doing mundane tasks can be difficult. And so sometimes setting a timer. So with my son, he loves a good race. And I learned this with trying to get him to daycare and pre-K and school. And so if I turn it into a race, he will go so fast. But if I say, like, hey, we're gonna be late, like, we gotta go. You gotta Like, he'll go slower. I don't know why. He doesn't he's like me, where he'll start dragging his feet even more, but if I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna win," he's like, he's like, "No," it's like, you can't win. I have to win." And he'll get a pep in his step, and he'll go faster. And so find out what works for you. What works for your family, what works for your kiddos, and then know that you're going to make mistakes. So now we're switching over to parenting with ADHD, because me as a parent, I try to check my kiddo's bag to make sure that I put his snack, because every day at school they have snack, and I make his lunch in the morning. One morning, no luck, because we leave the house at a certain time, and it was like 5 minutes before it was time to leave, and I realized I hadn't made his lunch yet, and my kid doesn't eat, like, school food. Like, he's a super picky eater. He won't eat the school food, and so we're but, like, and his lunch is quick and easy, so I just took those few minutes, I made his lunch, we were good to go, we were able to get to school, no problems. But I have what's called a growth mindset. So let's talk about what is a growth mindset. There's a fixed mindset, and often with autism, it can be hard to be flexible. And developing a growth mindset can be really important. And what I mean by that is learning to be a little flexible. So, like I said, I realized a few minutes before school, whoops, I hadn't made his lunch yet. I didn't like become so and and for some people, that might have ruined the rest of their day. Like, "Oh my gosh, how could I have," but I was in my head, I don't even know what I was doing. I was probably listening to, like, some YouTube case or something. I don't know what I was doing. I don't even remember. But, I was just like, "Oops." And so it was like, "Oh, I there was still time to make his lunch." I made his lunch. Everything was fine. Let's say there wasn't time for me to make his lunch. My husband is available. I can ask him for help. And so as a parent, especially if you are parenting with ADHD or autism, you're going to need support. I can't do this by myself. I can't. If I had to, but like I have help, and I ask for it. Um some partners, they are not going to automatically know what you need. You are going to have to ask for it. And so being able to do that, and my kiddo is looking for the iPad. You looking for the iPad? Is it downstairs? Yeah, on the iPad? Yeah. You can do it on the TV if you want, if you can't find the iPad. Yeah. And Um, and so being able to be flexible. So my statement is mistakes are how we learn. Mistakes are how we learn. And so when my kid makes a mistake, I say mistakes are how we learn. Now we still have consequences. I like. And then if I do something, I model that too. That hey, mistakes are how we learn. I think I told y'all, I think it was a few weeks ago, I y'all, I didn't know. Somebody was in my lobby waiting for an appointment that I had written down instead of October, whatever day it was, I had written it down for November instead of October. So I made a huge mistake. And I went back to check because and we had agreed to October. And sure enough, and I was available. I was watching YouTube. Like I wasn't even doing any like I was watching YouTube. And at the end of what would have been the appointment time, the person I rent from was like, "Hey, somebody's been waiting here for a while and they say they're here for you." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And so I was like, "I'm so sorry. I rework things." I was like, "I will come in on a Saturday." I was like, "No, I'll meet with you virtually on a Saturday." not come in. I'm not I will." And but the person was super chill about it. We were able to reschedule. Everything was fine. And that happens to me about once or twice a year. What's worse than that is when I double book. Is when I go out to meet with somebody and I realize, "Oh no, I have 2 people here for 1 appointment." And what I do is I look at my schedule because 'cause I'm like, either I'm wrong or they're wrong. Because sometimes clients have accidentally shown up on the wrong date, and I might be like, "No, no, like, we said Thursday, today's Wednesday." I'm like, "Ah, I forgot." But sometimes it's like sometimes it was me, and it happens a few times a year, and, what perfectionism does is it sets yourself up for failure, and mistakes really are so when I say that they're how we learn, because if we don't make mistakes, then you don't grow. Like I learned to make sure to have a calendar that's synced on all of my devices so that I try to not miss appointments. I try to email or message appointment dates because then I can go back and check like so what did we agree on, and it's normally in an email or a message. But I've learned this because in my years of practice like things have happened. um I also like the book. It's called The Obstacle Is the Way. I'll say that again. The Obstacle Is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And that book, because often when challenges come, we want to avoid it. We want to go around it. We don't want to go over and through it. And so being able to go over and through it can be learning. Like sometimes you can learn and grow in the midst of all of that. If it hadn't been for that Rona in 2020, I don't know that I would be here on YouTube. Like, it was some of the darkest and worst things in life. That's what's led to some of my best moments. But it didn't feel good in the moment. So March of 2020, when I walked away from like $100,000 a year job, like that was scary, but I didn't have student loans. So it was like, I'll figure out how to make it work. And I worked for a phenomenal person that let me start my practice while still working with them. And so as I got approved with new insurance companies, I was able to transition my current practice, my current clients from the practice I was at to my new practice. And everybody doesn't have that privilege. Everybody doesn't have that opportunity. But and then it took like 4 months to get profitable. Like that didn't feel good either. like and so I don't want to minimize the hardness and the pain and the difficulty of those situations. But then I also want to let myself be human. I want to let myself feel. So there is no right or wrong way to feel. Sometimes the same situation can come with mixed emotions. And that's where, when I'm working with kids or adults, that it's like, oh, they made a mistake. Because when I was a baby therapist, not a baby, like when I was like 1 or 2 years into practice, it used to wreck the rest of my day when I double booked. Like, and my clients were fine. Like normally everything worked out, everything moved on. But for me in my mind, it would sometimes stay with me for a while. And and so learning that that one moment doesn't have to ruin my entire day. That one moment isn't a reflection of me as a therapist or how much I care or any of those things. Because I always make it right. Because there have been times when I've double booked and I've stayed an hour later, or I've come in on a weekend, or I always make it right. but but for that moment, I have to make a difficult a difficult decision. And so being able to trust yourself, which is like that's so hard, especially if you think that you're not good at making decisions, and that's where, like, you and your therapist have to sit down and have those conversations, because a lot of people that I work with that struggle with their decision making, they're also struggling with not letting people down. They're often taking on way too much. They're trying to do it all. They're trying to, like, they're doing way too much, and they have too much on their plate, and they're exhausted, and they're not sleeping. They're not eating appropriately, and all of these other things are their life really is falling apart. And so that's where we have to take a look at everything that they're doing and say, "Hey, is there something you can say no to? Is there? Because I think you have too much." And so, uh, so if I have 2 people, um, sometimes I have some clients that cancel on me a lot. So I'll be honest. The clients that cancel on me a lot, um, sometimes they're really flexible to reschedule. So sometimes I might have to cancel on them. And then I pick the client that has the biggest need. But sometimes I'm able to see both people. Or if it's a virtual client and an in-person client, I see if the virtual person can reschedule because the other person is here. The situation that I described that happened recently, there was no way, like, my schedule was already booked the rest of the day. So it wasn't even, "Whoops, your appointment was at this time. I can see you at this time today." It was, "I'm so sorry. Like, we're gonna have to have you come back." So I don't have any favorites. That's what we all say. My favorites will never know, but I treat everyone the same. So it's not a matter of it's a matter of clinical need and, like, who has the most flexible schedule. That's what normally happens, and so, it normally works out every time it's happened, because sometimes it might be I double booked a 5 p.m. and then I'm able to stay. The other person's able to come back at 6 p.m., or they're virtual and we're able to reschedule, and things work out. Your boss used to say, "I hate you all the same." That's a hilarious boss. Wow. All right. I also wanted to mention because somebody brought up masking, and with kids and adults, sometimes we mask in the world, but we don't want to mask at home. But I do want to make sure that my behaviors and how I'm speaking to people, that it's not causing problems. That because I'm a very direct communicator, that it's not coming off harsh to my child, or that what they're doing because it's kind of triggering to me. So one of my things is sensory. So sometimes I get overstimulated, and that's why I almost always have my headphones or something close to me, because my child, I have a boy and he is loud. I know girls can be loud too, but he loves all the noises. And I will redirect him sometimes to be like inside voice if he's on 10, and it's like I need you down to like 7 or 6 something. But, I know some people use the Loom or Loop or Loom, I think it's Loop, I don't know. There's some, like, earplugs that some people use. They might be called Loom, something like that. And, but being aware of your sensory needs and then being aware of your child's sensory needs. And occupational therapy can sometimes be really helpful when kids are seeking a certain for sensory seeking kids, which is really common with kids on the autism spectrum and then also really common with ADHD as well. Loop. Thank you. Um because with that occupational therapy, we can figure out, oh, maybe my child needs a weighted vest because maybe they're seeking compression, and that weight and that compression, it helps them feel regulated. Or maybe my child needs, you know, movement breaks throughout the day. And that when I see them get really antsy, they just need to move. I work with a lot of clients that when they um, when they are, um I'm gonna go ahead and answer. I'm gonna try to remember to come back. So DMs are so Instagram, and then also I think on my YouTube, I think you can click email me. I wanna say on my YouTube, you can click email me, and my email will be right there. All right? Um, movement breaks can be so key. So with a lot of clients that I work with, uh, sitting still takes energy and they're not listening. So that's why, because I'll have a lot of parents that are like, just sit still and talk to doctor. And when they sit still, like all of their energy is going into sitting still and they are no longer listening. But if they are fidgeting, if they're moving, if they're doing all of this, they're actually like paying attention and they're engaging with me and they're talking and things are going well versus if they just have to sit is have to sit still. And so as a parent, what I do with my child is when I'm talking to him, sometimes he's playing, he's moving, and I ask him, "So what did I say?" And if he's able to repeat it back to me, I know that he's listening. But if he's doing what he's doing, and if I say, "What did I say?" and he can't tell me, I'm like, all right, I need your eyes. So this is what I need you to do. And he's like, okay. I was like, so what is it? And he tells me, it's like, all right, we're good. Because sometimes he's moving and he is listening. He is engaged, but sometimes he is very much disconnected and very focused on Minecraft or whatever it is he's doing. And so um once again, doing what works best for you and your kiddo and being open that it might look different than how it looks to other people. Because for my kiddo, if I just had him stand still and look at me, he's it's I'm laughing because I wish like it wouldn't go well. He would it would not go well. He would really struggle with that. And so being able to do what works best for you all. Let me know if y'all have any general questions. How do you help parents of littles who may need help regulating? Sometimes parents with nonverbal children don't like them going with others, but may feel the parents need a break. And so the biggest thing, parents of kids that are nonverbal, making sure that they are receiving speech therapy through the school system and then also private speech therapy. So if you're in the United States, most school districts, starting around like 3, because they want sometimes there are early intervention services that are available around maybe 2 or 3 years old. It's normally 3. In my experience in Virginia, it's normally been about 3 years old, where there can be an assessment done and they can start receiving supports, and those early intervention services. And then with speech therapy, sometimes they can start to learn how to use a communication device once they get to a certain age, or you can do they call it PECs, or there are these pictures that you can kind of make to try to start if the child is able to somehow communicate non-verbally. I found those things to be helpful. I get because kids that are not verbal, they are at a higher risk of being harmed because they can't say what's happened. And so that's where sometimes the parents, what they do is they might have like a monitoring, or like they might have cameras or something in the common spaces and they might feel more comfortable going or doing something, or they might have a certain family member or people that they do trust with their child. But I definitely understand why somebody with a nonverbal child might be leery of them going with just anybody because they are at a higher risk of being harmed. That's just sadly the facts. Kids with the 2 diagnoses I'm talking about have some of the highest rates of harm because parents try to control them. And, um, and sometimes they find that lack of ability to control the child reflects negatively on their parenting when children aren't made to be controlled. Like, I wanna teach my child. I don't want my child to do what I say because I'm controlling him. Like, that's like that's harmful. That's kind of culty. I want him to look both ways before walking in the street because that's safe. I want for him to do well in school because so my kid's working for rewards. My kiddo loves a good external reward. And then he does have some intrinsic motivation as well. Um, um, all right. My child is very much I think this is sarcasm because he is very much, a mini me. He is such a mini me. Uh And so, trampolines and swings are often, things that are very helpful. You might have a calm down room or like a cool down spot, or like if you have upstairs and a downstairs, there might be a cool down spot upstairs and there might be a cool down spot on the main floor. Because when you get upset, it's hard to, like so I have to go upstairs to go cool down, I'm probably not gonna do it. It might not happen. There might be a tantrum right here. And then recognizing the signs of your child escalating. So, I know when my kiddo starts, like, huffing and like, he shows signs that he's starting to, "Hey, buddy, what's going on? What are we needing? We needing a hug? Needing to talk? What just happened?" And then I check in with him about his day, and, um, I know my kiddo started showing behaviors at home and at school, but when I talked with his teacher at pre-K, it seemed like she didn't like him, and, like, she was real adversarial, like, it wasn't a good fit. Thankfully, he was only in her class for, like, 3 months, and once he switched to a different class, he was fine. And so it really was, like, that person was not a good fit for my child, and that's where when kiddos are able to communicate, like, "Hey, I don't think my teacher likes me," and then I talk with the teacher, and the teacher only has negative stuff to say. The teacher seems to have a very negative view of this child. It's like, I don't think this teacher is equipped. They might I don't know if they're equipped to manage a student with these difficulties. Um, um Witness mentioned that cool down music is the most effective for you. I love that. And so you might even have like a playlist. Um, you might, if a person feels themselves starting to get dysregulated, they might just go to that, to that. With all kids, but especially kids that are neurodivergent, I like to teach them how to scale their emotions from 0 or 1 to 5 if they're under the age of, like, 10, or from 0 to 10 if they're older kiddos. Because often they know what like when they're feeling good or when they're like really escalated, they normally know that, but sometimes they don't feel that it's building or that their hands start to feel hot or their like breathing starts to get heavy, that their shoulders go up. Sometimes they're not able to identify some of those in between stages, and so when parents tell me, "Oh, my kid goes from 0 to 60 real fast," when I watch the kids start to get escalated, like, I can see it building. Um, Co-regulation is really helpful, so when my child is escalated, I have to regulate myself first. I'll say that again. When my child is escalated, I have to regulate myself first. Dysregulation will never calm dysregulation. It doesn't. It's just that's just gonna escalate. Dysregulation plus dysregulation mean escalation. So somebody has to be regulated. And so when I come in regulated, but that means I'm doing my work. I have to put on my mask first. I have to take care of myself. And neurodiverse parents have to do that a lot more because, like, the prefrontal cortex sometimes is super doesn't doesn't work as well. I'm trying to see if I can see the email now. It might be something hasn't come through yet. All right. Let me know if y'all have questions. I am glad that we were able to have this chat because I think it's really important that we sometimes kids are doing the best they can and they need more skills. So they need occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. Sometimes I've worked with some kiddos that have went to feeding clinics because food was an issue. You want to be aware of how they're sleeping because ADHD and insomnia often can go together. So sleep difficulties, and when you don't sleep enough, you're irritable, you're agitated, you're tired, and so, sometimes kids with ADHD, sometimes they'll have anxiety or other things as well. And sometimes they'll have difficulty shutting their brain down at night. Sometimes they'll have difficulty setting boundaries. If they're teenagers, setting boundaries around their phone with friends at night. And so, sometimes I've had to encourage parents to, like, let's see how charging the phone in the parents' room works, and let's see how this or that works. Or I work with the teen about, trying to set some boundaries with friends. But I remember that song. I remember it. All right. Validation is really important. So when a child says they've had a bad day, please don't go into your day. Please, oh please. It's one of the worst things you can do. If a child is like, "Oh, I had such a bad day. I had the worst day ever." Well, what's going on? You want to get curious. So and so wouldn't play with me at recess. Aw, did that make you sad? Or what's yeah, I was so sad. And not that you're trying to be their therapist, because sometimes that can sound like things a therapist, but that's called reflective listening. And people feel seen and heard when you just listen and you just let them talk. And that's a way to validate. So I haven't said that, like, you have every right to, you know, push the person because they wouldn't play with you. Like, I didn't say it, like, no. But because let's say something like that happened, like, that's where the story gets to, that that a child was physically aggressive because somebody wouldn't play with them. But I can still validate the emotion and hear the story, not react, not invalidate, like, oh, well, I'm sure other people would because sometimes parents want to fix. So when a child has a bad day, a good parent would want to help their child feel better. But sometimes one of the best ways we can help people feel better is by listening to them. And so, being able to take a step back. So I hope that this language I've used um, is gender neutral and not specific for women or men. I try to do that. My my husband is the one that gets our kiddo off, like he gets him from school, and he's the one that does like homework with him. I don't get home until 6, until like 7, and so my husband is the one that does those tasks. I'm online right now, so if my child needs parenting right now, his father is the one that he goes to. And so, I hope that everything I've said is neutral. Sometimes I automatically use she for but, like, it applies to parents in general. And so being able to validate that, yes, something's hard, yes, something was difficult, and that being able to just be there with them so that they do tell you about their stressors. Because when a child has felt like they've had a really hard day, that's going to be hard. Now, once I hear about that day, I'm going to say, all right, can you tell me about anything positive that happened today? Because remember, when we've had a bad day, sometimes it's really hard to find anything good. And then also remember sometimes we'll have a bad moment. And so scale of so that's where sometimes it's like, okay, somebody not playing with me at recess. That really stunk. That was really sad. But like and that's where we just want to scale it to see where things are. Um because not to minimize what they're going through, but just to say like that was a part of the day and it might have clouded the rest of the day. Um but I want to be responsible for my triggers. I want to be responsible for my emotions and I don't want to give that one person that wouldn't play with me the power to ruin my whole day. But first we have to talk about it first. And so I hope that's helpful. Um you said it feels so bad to feel like someone doesn't like, oh, your kids or grandkids. Yeah. And that's where finding groups that are supportive, because often a lot of my neurodiverse clients, they find other neurodiverse friends. Uh, and that's often helpful for them because sometimes or friends that have empathy. And I hate to laugh about that, but that's what I mean. Because I've worked with clients that their friends thought their energy was too much, or they were too talkative, or they were too this, or they were too that. And those friends just weren't the right fit. But they were able to find a good group of friends that yeah, appreciated their communication and where they felt accepted, because there's a difference between acceptance and belonging. And Brene Brown talks about this, that because sometimes we negotiate who we are to be accepted, but I wanna belong and be authentic to who I am. So I don't wanna have to blend in and be accepted by being like everybody else. I wanna be able to feel like I belong because I have this group. And, Sarah's right, there are a bunch of, support groups. I know in Virginia, we have different meetups, um, and sometimes there are bowling groups or there are different organizations where people get together. I love so Brene Brown's work on authenticity and on worthiness and confronting shame. All of those things were so helpful for me as a person because I was more of a chameleon where I would try to blend into any group. I was a major people pleaser. I wanted to be liked by everyone, but I don't like everyone, so I can accept everybody isn't going to like me, and I want to be with people that accept me for who I am and that I don't have to be something else, that I don't have to become small or I don't know. So, um, I try to be down to earth. So, and that's just my natural style. So I don't use, you know, so like on my SAT and GRE, like I got normal scores. Like I'm not off the chart brilliant. Now, I study hard and I know my stuff. So I am very knowledgeable about the things I know. And then I admit the things that I don't know, and I'm constantly learning and growing and wanting to share and do other things. So how part of why I part of the reason why I can break things down to you this way is that this is just the way I talk. Like this is this is just how I am. Like I'm not like people are like, "I love how you broke that down." I'm like, "Thanks." Like, I don't know any other way to do it. I don't think it's helpful for me to use a bunch of clinical knowledge or only another group of psychologists that they would understand. Like, I think that's silly for me to talk on some level where I sound smarter than what I am, but nobody understands what I'm actually saying. And so, like, this is just me being me, and, I totally talk to myself all the time. I don't respond. But yeah, when I'm in the grocery store especially, my son's normally with me, but if I'm in, even if I'm there by myself, I'm like, "So what was I in here for today?" Like, I have whole conversations with myself. Some people's we call it, your some people's inner voice is in their head, some people externalize their inner voice. I have to hear it. I often work it out. And there was I think it was Martin Lawrence, I think he was talking about work it out. He did a skit, or it was in a comedy special where he talked about talking to himself. If you're old enough to remember that. Your knees probably hurt and can understand the weather. I went to Sky Zone with my kid today, and like, there was, like, a mat that you could run on, and I tripped at the end of it and fell kind of it was still a padded area, but, I did not injure myself. I'm very happy I did not injure myself, but they ended up, like, pumping it up with more air, and I was thinking, could I wonder if it was missing some air, and that's why I fell. Probably wasn't. I probably just tripped. I probably just fell. Welcome, Tony, to the membership. I have a few members only videos. Be sure to check those out. Um, all right. I appreciate you all. If there are topics that you all would like for me to cover, make sure to leave them down in the regular comments. And I'll see y'all on Tuesday. We'll see what we talk about. 'Cause, I'm waiting to see if the Melody Ferris, if that verdict comes back maybe on Monday or Tuesday. I am watching that case. The jury has been deliberating since, I think, Thursday. I think they've been deliberating since Thursday. And so, yes, so you'd love more videos like this. I do have an ADHD playlist, so make sure to check out, and I have a parenting playlist as well. Because if y'all do recommend things that I have already covered, I will share that video. Thank you, Sarah, for gifting a membership. Take care of yourself. Take care of those you love, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.